So 2 weeks ago-ish, Eric Mona and Jason Bullman attacked the internet with the Pathfinder 2 announcement. Attacked. I like that. Anyway, I was going to do this last week, but I got tied up with my son being home from the Marine Corps for 30 days and driving him around and all this fun stuff that's kind of gotten in the way of me doing some of the things I want to do. There's already probably 100 videos or more out there on 2nd edition and telling you about the changes, so I'm sure that for the most part you're very much aware of what's going on. Now, I'm not going to go through all that. I'm just going to go through some of the stuff that I like, and I'm going to share with you why I like it, and then I'm going to talk about some of the more recent updates that they started with on Monday. And today is Thursday, March 22nd. So the first post that I can share with you was actually posted, or the most recent post I believe was posted on the 19th, which was Monday. So anyway, first thing. So for the most part, I think I like the projected changes, the ideas that they have brought to the table. I think they've probably already been testing these in office for quite some time. In fact, I think when Eric Mona and Jason Bullman in interviews tell me about their games, they probably were playing 2nd edition Pathfinder. That's my theory. And, well, since it's a theory, I'm going to stick to it. I think the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is the increased potential for diseases and poisons, and I hope they throw more curse stuff in there, because I'm from the frame of mind that curses should be devastating. Now, one of the biggest things that most people are going to be worried about is, of course, the fact that they've got a lot of money invested in a lot of books. And they say that they're all going to be compatible. They're probably all compatible, but at what point in time do some of them become obsolete? I mean, obsolete's not the right word. But if you look at the things like some of their original books, and then you look at where Pathfinder has become, some of the original content that was published for Pathfinder isn't necessarily the current trend within the game. The one good thing about all of this, though, is the narrative's not going to change. The history is going to stay the same, the storylines are going to be the same, and I like to take it a step further and say that the narrative power of the GM and the players isn't really going to change. And I like the idea behind exploration, downtime, and combat being the three main avenues of structuring your stuff and playing the game. I really like the fact that downtime is going to happen in days, and potentially with some alternate rules in the future, even weeks. I suppose, you know, if you're playing some of the older characters, it can even be years. And then I like the action system. It's something that's, well, not necessarily new. It's been around. I can't wait to see the Paizo twist to it. And I really, 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 really like the exploration concepts that they have presented thus far. The focus on character creation and customization sounds like a real gem. I think one of the big things that I had a problem with way back in the days of 3.5 was that if I was playing a monk, I got something at like every level, but if I played, I don't know, maybe it was a fighter, you didn't necessarily get something at every level, whereas the really good classes get stuff at every level for their progression, and I think that's really what players want. And we're going to stop there with levels because they actually did some writing on levels, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in depth at the end of all my cool thoughts, or the thoughts of the things I like. I already said that I love the new combat system. I like the concept of how actions are going to work. For those of you that haven't watched or listened to the Glass Cannons game, I don't really watch the games, even though they might be like YouTubeable or whatever. I kind of listen to them and do other things at the same time, and stop when something piques my interest. So they're a good listen, and if you listen to them multiple times, you'll catch up on little things too. as things go on. The loss of initiative, I mean, there's still going to be initiative, but the way it is changed, I really kind of think I want to see it played out a little bit more, but I think in the end it's going to be a much better system for who goes first, especially after you look at, let's see, what was it? It was Monday. Monday they did the sample fighter class on the Paizo blog. I think once you read that and you combine that with things like the perception check for who goes first, you're going to be very happy. Because I mean, the fighter is just really kind of the tip of the iceberg as to where they're going. And then skill tweaks. I've always felt that skills in like 3.5, and even in Pathfinder a little bit, were it was too easy to have character separation from one class that's a skillmonger to a class like a fighter that gets hardly any skills. And there wasn't a good balance for that part of the role-playing in the game. I think that the whole idea behind skill feats and getting skill feats every other level and being able to focus on... Oops, I moved my wall. Sorry guys, I moved stuff. And focus on things that way. It's breathing. I don't know if that's good or bad. Focus on the things that way anyway. Is really going to kind of help that gap. I want to see more, so I really kind of know. I mean, if you get a rogue who still gets like a base of 6 or 8 skills, or you know, a rogue type of character that gets 6 or 8 skills depending on the prestige class, if they even still exist. Or am I getting my... Anyway, lots of stuff, right? Plus, you know, possible bonuses from skills and things like that. I want to see if there... I would like to see something more like where you always get your base of your intelligence modifier, and then somehow your skills... I would see them. I would like to see them more balance based. I don't know how to balance it. I'd like to see a fighter maybe get not just 2 plus intelligence. I would like to see a fighter get maybe more plus intelligence because, well, most of the time you put less intelligence into your fighters. Or, you know, or you make somehow your primary skills are based off of one of your abilities instead of, you know, skills always being based off of, because it's kind of silly that maybe, you know, if you're playing a physical character, you need intelligence to get bonus to that number of skills. So maybe there's some kind of sacrifice you can make. Anyway, that's a rant that we can talk about another time. And maybe Pathfinder's going to fix it with 2nd edition. Anyway. And I love, love, love the fact that poison diseases are going to be more dangerous. I feel like I skipped... Oh! Spells in combat. Now that they're going to be material components and equal number of actions, or like, you know, so if you have one material component, it's 1 action, you can cast multiple spells in the round. I'm really curious to see how that balances out with the amount of damage the wizard type classes can do in comparison to the fighters with some of the changes that they're making. And things that I really kind of just want to learn more about is crits and fumbles in the whole ancestry system, because crits and fumbles are like, you know, it's like, it's now going to be, let's say the armor class is 20 to hit, so you crit on 30 or greater. But you also crit fail on 10 or less. I'm curious to see how the scale swings, to see if at lower levels maybe you're more likely to fumble, and then at higher levels you're less likely to fumble, and at some point in time, maybe like in the 5 to 8 level ranges, you're not as likely to crit. I'm just curious to see how that's going to unfold, more than anything. And then we're on to the new goodness. And the new goodness is, the first thing was last Friday, and that's, are you proficient? And I really like the concept of proficiencies. So proficiencies are going to matter for just about any DC check you're going to make. In fact, you can even beef a lot of them up. Like one of the examples they give is your proficiency in fortitude can allow you to be pretty much invincible to poisons. But then they're going to have different levels of proficiency from untrained all the way up to legendary. And basically untrained you get a -2 penalty. And by the time you're legendary, which for the most part I think can't happen before like level 13, you get a +3. Now I'm sitting here, when I read the article I'm thinking like a +3. That doesn't seem like a big bonus, but when you add other bonuses and beefs and feats, and which is one of the things they've talked about with character creation, feats are going to be a major part of playing your characters now. So they're taking the idea of you're playing a hero and they're making your characters more customizable and more heroic. So there's going to be a lot more options to have unique characters rather than getting into the idea of this is my character and this is the way I have to play him to be effective. And we'll talk more on that hopefully between now and Gen Con 2018. So the next thing is attacks, or I might have to stop, I'm running out of battery. A fighter class preview. Wait a minute, I skipped something. Okay, we're going to leveling up, because leveling up is important first. Biggest change I noticed was you're going to level up every time you earn 1,000 experience points and your XP carries over towards the next level. So for example, they use clerics. A cleric at 2nd level gets a cleric feat, and a skill feat. Ooh. And then at 3rd level, you get 2nd level spells, a general feat, and skill increases. It's not too different, and they talk about multiclassing. I think that the major implication here is that because you level up every 1,000 XP, 2 things are going to happen. It's going to be much easier to multiclass. And 2, you're probably going to see a change to experience in the way it's awarded. And then feats. They talk, it's every level you're getting feats. When you don't gain a class feat, you gain a skill feat. That's pretty much the way it's going to work. Now, skill feats are part of the general feat category, which I don't really know what that means yet. But that also means if you wanted to drop 15 feats on improving your skills, you can. So you can play one heck of a skill manga. And that's pretty much what they talked about leveling up. And then we have the sample fighter. And basically the concept behind doing the fighter first is that they actually did like all the core classes, the real old core classes that go back all the way basically to AD&D 1st edition, so that they can work in harmony together. And the first major change to the fighters is going to be a tax of opportunity. It's going to allow you to spend a reaction strike and attack your opponent with a negative penalty. But the key difference here is it's a reaction strike, and it's only a negative penalty to the reaction strike. That's the important part. And then they go into all kinds of different things, like you start with certain types of weapon proficiencies within a weapon mastery state. You also, which that increases your proficiency level, so you go up a level. You also get to focus on a whole bunch of buffs. The example they use is Battle Surveyor, which increases your perception at an early level and basically allows you to be the first person in combat most of the time. And then one of the other big things, the big change is power attack. I can miss you. I always hated that with power attack, that you took a penalty to swinging. Now it costs 2 actions instead of a penalty to hit, which is brilliant. It's one of the key advantages, I think, to going to an action system. More complicated actions cost more. They don't penalize you. They make you more heroic, in my opinion. And we are playing heroes. Oh, don't forget, it also lets you do, extra damage. The trait is 2 actions for a more accurate attack. I think it's a good trait. And then there's another cool one. It's quick reversal. You get it at 4th level. And basically, if you're flanked and you miss somebody, it allows you to redirect that attack to somebody who is flanking you and re-roll. It's kind of cool. At 14th level, fighters do something really cool with their shields, and they can block fireballs. and Dragon Breath. And of course, they're going to work on things like arrows and range combat and bring it in. So if you haven't looked at the fighter yet, and what they have done to the fighter, please go check it out. I think you're going to be happy with some of the changes they're making. I know I am. I really kind of can't wait to see the Cleric now, and I can't wait to see the Rogue. I can kind of wait to see most of the other stuff, but Fighter, Cleric, Rogue, those are kind of my go-to classes. Anyway,